And we are live, George.
Cool. Good evening, everyone. Hope we're doing all right on this Monday evening. We are back with the Arsenal Women Chat Show. Also live on the other channels that we mentioned, like Mr. Arsenal Podcast and Hybrid Fans Forever. We're back with a Gooners Stories episode, as you guys know. We've had an international break, so that also means that George has an international break. So Laura's been doing amazing stuff with the other channel, so thank you for that.
You're
Um
very welcome.
so before I welcome our really, really special guest, as you can hear and see, Laura is here. So how are you, mate?
I'm all good, thank you very much. I'm glad we're getting back to the Arsenal side of everything rather than it being the international side. I think I'll speak for most Arsenal fans. When there's an international break this long, we kind of get to the stage where we start to miss it. So, and of course, when we do get back, it's a very big game and a very important game that we have. So I'm looking forward to that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I wish it was an international football break, not just a women's one. Um, but yeah, less said about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce you to our guest. So we have Mia with us. How are you, Mia?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Bit achy. I've been playing sport all weekend, and so I luckily missed the football on Sunday. So it weren't too bad. So what we, as the people know from the Gooner stories, we'll talk about Mia's journey as an Arsenal fan, and then some other aspects of stuff like to do with social media and things like that. Laura, do we have any comments before I move on?
We only have Chris and James in at the moment. They only seem
Cool.
to be the only people that ever comment. Don't be shy to put a comment in, and if you have a question for obviously Mia, I'm sure Mia will be happy to answer your question. The usual
Yeah,
lot aren't in tonight. Like Gav seems to be disappeared for somewhere. Darren, etc. They'll be somewhere, I'm sure.
yeah, they'll come out. Chris, I hope you're all right, mate. And James, hope you're good as well. Cool. Let's get started. So Mia, obviously, when did it first start to happen for you? When it was to come to supporting Arsenal, was it just as a young child, or was it to do with family, like where you're from? What's your story?
It was a mixture of when I was younger, whereabouts I used to live as well, massively helped decision as well. So I used to live like not that far away on the train to go there, not far away from the training ground. So it always made sense that, especially with the women's team, even back then, being as noticeable, that the most noticeable side, it was always going to be Arsenal that was going to follow, and I made a good choice.
Yeah, no, best choice,
Does
best
it
and
feel
only
like that?
choice.
Sorry, Mia, does it feel like that at the moment that it's a good choice, or is that just will we
The
scoop over
men's
that
side,
one?
we don't talk. The men's side, we don't talk. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. The men's side, I always said, if we won the league, if we are 20 points clear with a game in hand, we'll win the league. Other than that, I would never believe it, and that applies to the women's team as well. Like until we get to that Champions League final and we're 1-0 like we were last season, and it's like the last second, I will then believe it. But apart from that, I've just been watching
Yeah.
quite a few games like that for the
You
last few
say
years.
you say that I didn't even believe it when the whistle went in Lisbon. So I had people slapping me on the arm saying we've just won the Champions League. I'm like, what? No, no. Might have had something to do with like the weather and the lack of water in the ground, but that's another conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, just obviously going back to that. I think sometimes when you have that local link, not that it means more because it doesn't, but
No.
does it? It feels like if you have that local link, like we see it with the Hale End players, there's a it's just a different type of feeling and then a link, isn't it, Mia? Like, did you kind of get that as well? Obviously, being local.
So, because I'm not living where I was,
Yeah,
because it's been a while. I still do get that link whenever I come up. I'll get the training and everything. Then also, like, I've always really followed the side. I've always watched them. You know, when I was playing at quite a high level, didn't have like time to like travel up and down to London. So, you know, I've always, you know, been really passionate about us winning. Always gone on about it whenever we won when I was at school, whatever football club I was playing for. Everyone knew I was an Arsenal fan. Like, I'd always like turn up at my football training sessions, my full Arsenal kit on as a child. So even though when I moved, that connection kind of went, and like literally so many people at my school at the time were like Arsenal fans. I still had the love for the club there, and I always knew I was going to go to games at some point. I just knew I was going to play for quite a while before I was going to do that.
Yeah. Laura, do you have a question?
I do have. Do you ever remember your first ever Arsenal match that you watched like live or even just on the TV? Would you remember that memory?
Yeah, so I more remember them in person just because they like so stick out to me. Like it's ridiculous. But in terms of the men's side, my first ever game at the Emirates was men's side. I actually won tickets for Arsenal versus Leicester back in 2015. I'm pretty sure it was when Leicester had the Great Escape. That was ridiculous. Like the best day of my life. Like that was because you enter competitions, you don't really think much of it. And for like my mum to like get the email to say, oh, you've won 4 tickets going to see Arsenal versus Leicester, we were just absolutely stunned, and we were so happy. Like that was so happy for me. Women's side, because I was playing for quite a while as well. I went to Arsenal versus West Ham back in 2019 at Meadow Park. And again, loved every single moment of that game. It was kind of like that time where it was just after I lost love for football. So like I lost love for football in terms of watching from like 2016 to 2019. So then like when like the West Ham documentary came out and everything, like women's football was then more like, you know, put out there for everyone to see. So the minute I saw that and I was keeping an eye on Arsenal and watching as many games as I can, I was like, yeah, no, I need to get back to Meadow Park. I need to get to watch some games again. So yeah, it's kind of been kind of going out from playing to then not playing as much, where I've kind of looked at it more as like a fan perspective in terms of going to as many games as I can.
Yeah.
So obviously you said that when you played to a high level, obviously being a fan of the women's team going back, who's like your inspiration for that, and like who's your like role models, and has it changed like as time's gone on?
Yeah, definitely. I always see like favorite players and everything, like who's in the squad at the time, and you know anyone like stands out for me. The minute they've left Arsenal, they're still one of my favorite players. But I look at what players doing what I feel inspired by. Just players in general. Growing up, like, you know, Ellen White, Alex Scott, Rachel Yankee, you know, those are like the players that like I really remember watching and feeling really inspired by. You know, for the men's side, it was very much like Sammy Nasri, Robin Van Persie before they both left, and Theo Walcott as well. So yeah, it's when I was younger, like those were like the 6 players that mainly stood out for me. Now it's Alessia Russo. I'm a massive Russo fan. so yeah, I hope she stays as long as she can.
You and George can be best friends then, because he's a massive Russell fan as well, aren't you, George?
Legend.
Yeah. Proper story.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions that are relevant to what we're talking about, please drop them into the chat. Yeah, so obviously continuing about the Arsenal journey, we've seen a big change, haven't we, like when it comes to attendances, and we ask this question quite a lot. But where do you sit with what the positive impacts that Arsenal have done with when it comes to the attendances? A lot of people think it's just based on the Lionesses. Are you in that camp as well, or do you think it's more than that?
Yeah, we always have this conversation, and like with like my like friends and family, and we always say, well, Arsenal, even like last time I used to live when I was younger, was always that team that their women's team was more noticeable because of what they've won and everything, the players they had in the squad. So I think the Lionesses winning the Euros boosted it a little bit, but I still think the fundamentals were there for Arsenal. You know, the players we had before, the trophies that we've won in the past, you know, the Champions League now twice, the quadruple, like being unbeaten the whole entire season, like all of that, I think, would also help people support Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think my very first ever Arsenal game was the last FA Cup final that we were at just after COVID, and even just being there and watching the crowd. Of course, that was obviously before the home Euros, but
Yeah.
there was still a lot of people there. Considering, as I always tend to use the phrase, apparently no one cares about women's football, but when when you're going to your very first ever game at Wembley and there's still enough there that you could say it's a big enough crowd. I think it was just for me looking in it in terms of Arsenal, it was just the consistency that Arsenal did after the Euros to keep people coming back. So it was, and I think that's the one thing that Arsenal do well in terms of keeping fans coming back with obviously the terms of what do Arsenal do different to other teams, and why haven't other teams clocked on to what Arsenal are doing? It's an interesting story.
Apart from win the Champions League.
I think with the women's football, it's I always think this all the time. Even back in 2015, you saw it grow slightly when we won third place in the Women's World Cup, and then the Women's World Cup in 2019, attendances were beginning to increase, and you know, COVID and lockdown hit. So I always thought we had that fundamentals there for women's football in general to kind of get more like broadcasting, get more televised. We just kind of had to just keep as consistent as we can. But like you said with the Women's FA Cup, I've been going to every Women's FA Cup game since 2017. And you just kind of see the attendances just grow and grow and grow. And it's the most amazing thing to see. I'd say that's like, even though we're not going to be in it this year, it's still one of my favourite days to do because it's just the atmosphere, just everything about it. I've been going nearly for 10 years, so it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just want to say hello to Hadj. Hope you're okay, mate. Good to see you on here. So I hope you had a good weekend. I was saying this, Mia. I had asked this question before, but I always found it interesting. Like we see how much like probably social media has played into this, but with the fans, like we've seen us have sellouts. We see us have probably average more at the Emirates than some or most of the WSL teams and other, like say, men Championship or League One teams, which could be Spurs soon. So, but what my question is that when we won the quadruple, how comes there wasn't more of an explosion of the increase in fans and attendances? Because obviously back in that time, we could have like been talking about the women potentially playing at Highbury or around that. Where do you sit with that sort of question?
I always think it wasn't televised enough or like put in like media and everything. I think this up until the Euros, that there's so many games that popped up that like we wanted to go to, but we knew like a week before, and we couldn't like drop everything and like just run to the game. So I think that massively plays a part, like in terms of like the media coverage that we had for when we won the Euros. It increased over time, that we were host nations and everything, so there's always going to be more of a buzz there. I think is the difference in terms of just like not many people were writing about it, not many people were doing documentaries about it, and if we would have had that, then I think it would have grown more.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Like, because obviously we all know, like, let's be honest, TV and places like Sky Sports and that of what made football, and they see a lot of money in football, which if you actually realise that there was football before the Premier League, like some people don't realise that. But it wasn't much difference. Like before Sky took over and pumped all that money into it. Can you see the WSL go in a similar way, maybe not to the same extent of saying like hundreds and hundreds of millions going into it in the next 2-3 years, but because of the more televised stuff and what like all the different streaming places that are taking women's football, could you see it heading towards that direction, or do you think it won't end up like say the men's Premier League was when Sky took it over?
I really hope it does. I think it just depends on so many factors, kick-off times, promotion as well for games. I think plays a massive part on it, making sure like the days and everything, fans can attend, fans can watch. I think just with everything and how I am in general is I'd rather build it up slowly and we'll gradually improve crowd, gradually improve attendances, which I think is how it's going at the moment. Then everyone just shouts every single game. Everything is really, really like sold out, everything. And then you're kind of at that position then where, you need to then try and maintain that. I always kind of say if we can grow a community and grow more of a community of people, then hopefully it will grow. But I think it will. I think maybe like in 5 years' time we'll look back and go, well, look how much it's grown now, like grounds are selling out. But I just think there's the Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City that are doing really well with like fans, even United. It's just so important that we now cover and speak more about the teams like in the WSL too, like the West Ham as well, like the Liverpool, So I just think everyone just needs to kind of work together to try and build up that fan base for other sides. And I think we will get there. It's just going to take a bit of time, which is understandable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, hello, Catherine. Hope you're okay as well. So I've got 2 or 3 quick fire questions.
Go for it.
So, right. So, favourite Arsenal goal?
Oh, I've seen in person or on TV.
Yeah, in person.
Oh, I'm trying to think now. Russo's one against Chelsea. In the Champions League.
Cool. All right. Then
that was lovely. That was
so
lovely.
good.
Then favourite Arsenal moment, either that you've seen in person or on TV.
That 4-1 win against Chelsea back in 2023. It's unexpected. So I wasn't expecting that one. Even though we lost to Spurs the weekend after, like that.
Yeah,
that game is like the best game I've ever been to. Still.
Yeah, we won't mention the Spurs one. And then a quiz question: can you tell me the only English club to win the Champions League?
Arsenal.
That's
like so quick. It's like a chocolate answer in the process.
Can I just reiterate on obviously that last question there? Do you think Arsenal could go back to back with that, Mia?
I hope so. I'm going on Sunday. So I didn't go last year to any Champions League games. So to do a quarterfinal and a semi-final is ridiculous. So I hope so. If not, I'm blaming myself.
Yeah. I'll be there as well on Sunday actually. And
nice.
It'll probably be me that gets same because I'm not there. So.
So hopefully, if you're around, I'll be able to say hello to you in person if you're around on Sunday. So
I'll be around quite a bit. So we like getting there early, seeing the like atmosphere, the occasion, everything. Hopefully there'll be quite a bit on because it's a semi-final. So I'm looking forward to that. Be good.
Yeah, be an exciting one. A very big, exciting game coming up at the weekend. Obviously, Arsenal versus Lyon. Again, here we meet again in the semi-finals. Could it be the same as last year? We go down at home and then of course take it over to Lyon and beat them there.
I don't know if my stress can handle that again. I was like looking back at like the semi-finals and the final, like how nervous I was. I'm hoping that we learned a lot from the Chelsea game in terms of being 2 goals ahead, being 2 goals ahead, how much that really did help us for the away leg. It's 2 home legs in a row now. We've had to play the first leg. So I think we know what we need to do, which is just try our absolute best to go 2 goals ahead and then just defend against Lyon. So I think we can do it. I think if we would have lost, against Chelsea. And I always said whoever won out of Arsenal and Chelsea were going to win the Champions League. So I'm still going to stand by that. Might come back to that. Might backfire.
Wishful thinking. As I said over the last year, haven't I, George? Last year I was very impatient with Arsenal. This year I've learned to be a little bit more patient. Like let's just play out to see how the season goes, and then I'll judge it at the end of the season.
You should
I was
tell
stressed out.
You should tell our whole fan base that. But
I was stressed. I
um,
was stressed to start the season. That Villa home game,
oh yeah, I wasn't happy.
and FA Cup against Brighton as well. Recently, I went to. But you know what? As long as we win the Champions League and we finish in second, we still won the trophy, won the Champions Cup. So that's what I care about.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Also,
definitely.
hey Reese, hope you're okay, mate. Reese will be hopefully joining the shows going forward, so that'd be good. Have someone else to talk more sense than some of us. So, Ryan, hope you're all right, mate. Chris, I will answer that for you now. One, there is a meetup, and I think it's at the Tolly. Don't ask me what time it is, but it'll be before the game. That's all I know. So I reckon it'll probably be about 11 or 12, but I'll let you know and find out stuff. And I'm 90% sure there's a fan walk. So you've got to get you and your brother to sing. So for once. So right. So that's answered that. Yeah, kind of obviously carrying on the chat with the Leon semi-final. We obviously see we played them earlier, didn't we? Like at Meadow Park. But also I watched them in the game before, and I just think defensively we can get at Leon this season. So I think we don't really want to have to go to Leon with being 1-0 down, because I think we'll learn from what we've done, but I think also they may learn Mia as well. So do you think kind of having that advantage is quite key, isn't it?
Really important, especially when you're going away from home. We're like the Emirates this season, apart from that Villa game, has been amazing for us. So I think we just need to, though the fans will be loud, players be up for it, and I'm just hoping that I always say the home advantage, especially like at the Emirates, is so important. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we can just get 2 goals ahead, because I think, as you said, like it's going to be very different this season in terms of Leon will learn what went wrong. But I also found the Leon game at the start of the season so frustrating, because Leon had gaps at the back that we just did not capitalise on, because defensively we weren't amazing that day. So I think if we can work on taking our chances, which Russo has done recently, then I do think we'll be okay. Fingers crossed.
Somebody has a quick question for you there, Mia. So that Catherine has asked, do you think Arsenal could learn from Wolfsburg and not do what they did?
Yeah, I think so Wolfsburg had the opportunities to go ahead. They didn't. I think defensively, I think they done as well as they could have done. They just didn't create as many chances as they should have done. So I do think that we can see what Wolfsburg done, especially like the first leg, and see what Leon's strengths were in that second leg and how we can stop that. I trust Rennie to do it, because she done it against Barca last season after they beat Chelsea 8-2. So you never know.
Yeah, hopefully. Yep, George, any more questions on the Arsenal side of everything?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think obviously, actually, I'm going to get your prediction for Sunday.
I'm only going to say this because I want us to be 2 goals ahead going to Leon.
Yeah.
I think he'll finish 3-1. Again, I'm only saying that 2 goals ahead, and that would help us out massively. If that doesn't happen, I think it'll be a scrappy 1-0 win. Hopefully not.
We have got a new signing back, and someone called Leah Williamson. So
yeah,
hopefully
it should be right.
You should have heard me. I was a bit ranty about Leah Williamson going on England duty before, because I was like, she ain't been playing for us, but at least she got 45 minutes the other day. So I think I was going to be more annoyed if she got called up for England and didn't play at all.
Yeah.
I think that would have annoyed me more. But Serena must have seen the show and thought, I know, can't upset George, so need to get Leah on. So yeah. But I'm going to pass over to Laura with some of the other questions that she's got.
Yep.
There's another question.
Obviously before we move on, Risa says, what of your attacking players does Mia think would be most effective against Leon in particular?
I would play Smith up front to begin with. Play Ford on the left, play Kelly on the right, have Russo in the 10. I think we'll get the best out of everyone. And then at half time, move Olivia Smith out wide, bring Russo up front, take off Ford. That's what I would do.
What about
Catherine
Beth?
has also said. Sorry, George?
What about Beth Mead?
Come on second half.
Okay.
Either Beth or
Okay,
Chloe
cool.
come on second
Yeah,
half. Either or.
It's actually
Yeah,
nice to see that
okay.
Beth Mead hasn't actually picked up. Obviously, before we left for international
Yeah.
camp, we've seen Beth pick up an injury, but it's nice to see that that's not as serious as we thought it was, because the way she obviously walked up the tunnel at Meadow Park and decided enough was enough. Catherine has also said, do you think that the Netherlands versus France game has helped Daphne prepare face Leon? Because most of the Leon players are French and get picked for obviously the France international team when they get called up.
I think each game and each system is always quite different, so I think it's a little bit difficult. I trust Daphne goal. She's won the Champions League before, made some really great saves semi-final last year. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
I don't know if you maybe want to join that great debate of Bobby or Daphne Van Domsler.
No, it's not a debate.
I think the only difference is those big moments. Daff more shows up than Borba, but Borba made some incredible saves in the Champions Cup final. Has made some incredible saves this season. We've just got two incredible goalkeepers now, but that always worries me a little bit, because you don't want one getting unsettled and losing their confidence when they can't come on. So yeah, I think Rennie's in a bit of a position where I don't know how she's going to manage that, but I'll start Daff. I'll start Daff for this game, and then maybe play Borba against Leicester.
Yeah, you
get some minutes.
You can come back, Mia. You're fine. You can, I like, just before we move on. So as you can probably guess, it's Daff all the way for me. I just think I compare it to other games and other teams. Obviously, we are basically talking about the Arsenal Women chat shows and Arsenal Women football, but I am an Arsenal fan completely. And we had the same conversation when we had Aaron Ramsdale and bought David Raya in. David Raya, world class. For me, Daphne, world class. Borba is a very, very good goalkeeper. Do I think she makes the save against Chelsea and in that game in the Champions League? No, I don't think she does that.
Neither.
But she's a solid number two. Do you know what I mean? So it's a nice problem to have, but it's also an awkward problem to have, because, like you said, Mia, it falls into, you don't want to be rotating in and out. But at this time of the season, this is a really bold and controversial one. I don't want to see Daphne playing in the WSL that much.
Yeah, no, it's want to try, especially when Daph's had the injury track record that she has had.
Yeah.
It's just important to keep her injury free. It also, this has just popped up in my head now. It makes you kind of think about Borba. Like, she might want first team football next season. If she wants first team football next season, it wouldn't surprise me if we get something, a little bit of money in for her, or she might just be happy being second choice goalkeeper. And because what I've noticed with Arsenal is they have quite a strong goalkeeper union, like they all seem to support each other and everything. Like when I've been there after games, they're always with each other, they're always there supporting each other. So it just depends as well, I think, on your minutes, but then also how happy you are in general at a club, in terms of, do you connect with the people that you play with and compete with?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just have one question before we switch over to the social media side. If we could pick a world-class player to sign tomorrow, Mia, who would you like to see at Arsenal?
Oh, that's a good question. I was on a list on a video actually a few days ago about players.
I have a list as well.
That's a sign, and my iPad's next to me.
Georgia Stanway.
If I had to pick like anyone, it would probably be sorry, I forget the pronunciation wrong. Sam Parulo from Barcelona.
Yeah.
I think world class attacker, and I would like love her in the Arsenal squad, like because I think that would be like that difference maker out wide that I think we've been missing a little bit this season. Or Dan Marisa centre midfield. They're like my two that like if I had to pick anyone, I'd be bringing those two. But Georgia Stanway's a close third.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just being tongue in cheek with it because I expect Stanway to sign. So,
And Honour.
yeah. So,
Fingers
Laura, who
crossed.
would you pick quickly?
I've always been a big fan of Temwa Kigwana, who obviously plays for North Courage. I think if you look at her record in terms of like goal scoring, I think it would be someone who could fit in the Arsenal system, and it would be a very, very good backup to obviously Alessia Russo. But would it not back Stina Blackstenius? If you look at strikers as of at the moment, you don't really have top class strikers that are willing to leave the club at the moment. So it's very slim pickings unless the clubs are willing to pay out big money for players. Which I seen an article the other day that I think it was Tim Stillman that put it out that clubs are still very reluctant to put out big money for players.
Yeah.
Especially in the WSL when they're trying to generate as much money as possible to keep the club afloat. So, I think if she was ever to leave Courage, then I would like to see Kigwana at Arsenal.
Caicedo's mine.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love Caicedo, especially with Russo and Smith. Someone like that. If money was no like object and you could get anyone, but someone like that, or well, I suppose Hemp would get in the squad. But yeah, she would definitely her. I don't know who else. Like I was under the impression like people like Naomi Girma before and Kia Walsh before they went to Chelsea, and then I've seen them play, and I'm like, no, I don't really want you now. So
I always think with Walsh, I feel like she just plays in the wrong system. Like I feel like it should have come to us. I feel like she should have played so much better because you see glimpses of Walsh like for the Lionesses and like when Chelsea played against Spurs, for instance, when she plays like that really good cross, that really good pass, that really great interception. So I just feel like she's just in the wrong system for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough one for Kira Walsh in that midfield at Chelsea, isn't it? Especially this season.
It's tricky at the moment, isn't it? Because they're obviously going for a rebuild annoyingly at the same time while we're trying to go through one. They just can't let us do anything on our own.
They can let us win the Champions League, though.
Yeah, exactly.
What do we say there, George? We say evening, Gav, when we mention the Champions League. Gav is a Chelsea fan.
Sorry, Gav.
Had says I would love to have Linda, Clarabelle, Salma Pelluelo, and Camila Coover.
Yeah.
God, what a summer transfer window that is, Had.
I would be loving life.
I wouldn't mind that one.
That'd be amazing.
Claire Wheatley's come out and thought, she's got a new pen and everything. Oh, Claire. So.
Listen, not Claire Wheatley when she can get some good players on a free transfer. Look at the players we pulled in and look at the players she pulled in.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we'll obviously switch over to the whole TikTok side of things, as most people would know. You've obviously over 8,000 followers on TikTok, a very big platform. Congratulations on that. I know you've just recently posted up that obviously you've reached high points on that. So congratulations from us to you on your platform. But when you built that, Mia, was it just in terms of just something to be a hobby, or did you intend it to be as big as what it has got to now?
It's a strange one because when I kind of like left college, I left education, I was just like kind of thinking of just how can I show my love of football to everyone, and I've always been really passionate about growing the women's game. So when I went to Arsenal versus Aston Villa, like I got a video of Beth Mead just running onto the pitch from an ACL injury, and that done reasonably well. And I was like, what if people actually want to listen to me talk about football? Like, this could be really, really cool, because this is all I do anyway to my friends and family. So if people actually want to listen to me and I can grow a platform, that'd be unbelievable. But then I'm not going to put any pressure on myself in the first place, because the minute I put loads of pressure on myself, then I expect too much of myself and I don't enjoy it. So I always promise myself, no matter what happened, I just enjoy it. And the minute I stopped enjoying it, then I think about it. But I love creating content. I love talking about football. And I feel like I learn something new when I'm creating my videos every single time. So I'm just in a position at the moment where, when I first started it, I wasn't really looking at doing it full time. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like thinking to myself, right, what do I need to go do from now to try and make it like my full-time job? So yeah.
I'm obviously the same. I'm doing a lot of the match day vlogs at the moment, and that I talk to George about it a lot when it comes to the podcast as well. Like, sometimes we get frustrated with your channel and you're like, do you know what, let's not put too much pressure on myself, because then it becomes to the point where you don't enjoy it, you don't want to do it anymore. So it's just trying to find that balance for the love of football, but you also want to be able to go to a game and enjoy it and not constantly have to feel like you're, oh, there's a goal coming up, let me pull my phone out and try and create that content. Do you find yourself under so much pressure in terms of that situation? Because I know I do when I'm vlogging. Like, I find so much pressure to try and find the correct, like the right moment to capture.
I think at the start of the season, I was, but the more the season's gone on, I'm just like, well, I know it works. So I know for me, the warm-ups work. I know full-time works. If I get anything during the game, if I get a goal, I get a goal. If I don't, I don't. But for me, it was hilarious, because I was looking back at old videos on my phone, and I have videos of a player scoring a goal when I was like 14 years old, you know. So for me, filming those moments, I've always just done it anyway. So I think that kind of side of it, I've always just kind of just enjoyed, and I get to share people. But I'm very much quite careful, especially with, I travel 2 hours, being like, well, look, I'm here, even though I'm creating some content, I'm here to enjoy the game. And like Brighton game went down so well. Still crazy to think about how well that done in terms of my views. And I looked at the game and I thought to myself, despite the result, I really enjoyed the game. I felt like I really got to embrace the atmosphere. I didn't film everything. I just captured some moments that suited me, that suited the channel, and I still got to enjoy the football. So I try and put myself fan first, content second, and then it keeps that enjoyment up for me.
I just want to say, he's like Beetlejuice. Evening, Gav. Hope you're all right, mate. We say your name 3 times, you appear. So I hope you're doing all right, mate. Don't know what happened to your team at the weekend again, but you're probably used to that as usual. But yeah, you're having a good one, mate. And we're just talking to our guest Mia about her journey as a Arsenal fan. That's the team who've won the Champions League, by the way, mate. Just so you know. Just thought I'd share that with you, my friend.
George, do you want to ask Mia any questions in terms of our social media side?
Kind of. This is a really difficult question, and I'm trying to word it properly. But if there's people watching here, and it is something I'm quite interested in building to create content and stuff, like what inspired you, and who kind of is there anyone that inspired you to do it? And if you could like just give a bit of advice to someone who's looking to do it, what would that be?
So people I was watching when I first was like, before I was like creating content and first coming out to like creating content, trying to think who actually was. I know I've watched a bit of Nancy, it was both the Alleys as well. Like they were like the ones I mainly like remember watching, and Emily Evans as well, like those 4. So yeah, like kind of like watching them kind of like grow as well, like inspired me to just keep on going, and that you could get to a point. And for me, it was always, well, I'm just going to be patient. And I've always been like, whenever like anyone, any creator or anything has a really cool achievement, I'm just buzzing for them. I just feel so inspired by them and so inspired for them. My best advice would be yourself. Everyone's going to create different content. Everyone has different personalities. I know for a fact that every single video I do, I'm myself. The matter if I'm doing short form content where we're having a bit of like a laugh, like it's more about the caption than me speaking, or if I'm speaking, I'm giving my opinion, I'm showing my personality. So definitely be yourself. Another bit of advice as well, be patient. Just enjoy the journey. Like for me, it's taken me to get to this point now. I've lost count now. Since December 2023. So like it's been a journey, but you know, I work so hard behind scenes to kind of get everything planned and just do as much as you can. Like if for me, I'm at a point where I'm like, I want to upload every single day, do a few videos a day. I can do that at the moment. But there's some days where I can't, and that's also absolutely fine. So definitely just set realistic expectations for yourself. Set small steps along the way, because that will just keep you motivated and just keep you going, but then also not putting too much pressure on yourself. But yeah, 100%, just show your passion. And if you're yourself, if you just show that energy or that calmness, you'll be fine. And like that's what I've learned 100% is just when I was first doing that, I felt a bit like a robot. But now I show my personality, either on my lives or just when I'm just speaking about the games.
Yeah. No, that's,
I definitely agree on that. Sorry.
I've not been doing it really that long, apart from the last couple of years. But I think the thing that I've always found the most difficult is when you get the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So what would like your advice be on that? Because let's be honest, we probably have all faced it. But and it is still something we could talk about. But yeah, so how do you deal with that?
The amount of words I have blocked off my comments is actually
Yeah.
quite amusing to look at. Especially when I went for like a really tough time back in. Yeah, especially when I went for quite like a tough time last March. I went on live and I was like, look, I'm gonna have majority of these words filtered, because these are the things that will like just bother me at the point I was in. But then also, I think I'm in a position, and it's very different to everyone else, where I played football when girls' football wasn't that popular. So I had to deal with the comments here and there from people, and you kind of, for me, I kind of just grew a thick skin. I was like, well, I don't really care. Like, this is my passion. This is what I love. So I think in my position, it's always kind of been something I've had to deal with. And I just don't really I don't really care what people think about. If people don't care about women's football, I don't really care. Like, if people comment about me, it's like, look, like, that's your opinion, but I will just mute and block you, because you obviously don't want to be here to watch the channel.
Exactly.
So my policy is very much block, mute, comments are filtered, and that keeps my channel safe and positive, and that keeps me safe and positive. And if I make a bad take or something, I'll happily hold my hands up and be like, yeah, feel free. Feel free. It's your moment. I'll hold my hands up and say I'm sorry. But from playing football my whole life and having to kind of deal with that, it never really bothers me. But again, it's a complete anomaly to quite a few people.
Yeah, no, it's a good outlook. Like
Yeah.
it amazes me how many people comment on stuff that are so irrelevant to what you're talking about as well. But
Yeah. You
let's
look
be
at me and
honest,
that's it.
we've had it tonight, so it's like, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's just like I just think like we're talking about stuff that we have a passion to talk about. If you don't like that, then well, just don't waste my time, really. But yeah, it's good to get another person's outlook on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my question, Laura.
Yeah. Mia, what type of content do you think like is best for your page? Is it like match reactions, obviously like player edits, breakdowns, etc., or just genuinely coming on and having a rant if it's a bad day for Arsenal, of course?
I think it's a mixture of everything, because I'm sometimes at matches, so like match thoughts, match reactions. You know, I love doing them. Like, I don't even be like, oh, I've got to do them. I'm like, right, when am I doing this then? It's a mixture, because I think my personality is very much like, I can chat about football, you know. I want to try and raise awareness and like have like player spotlights, but also I can make a laugh out of like a situation, you know, or like a short form where people can laugh and enjoy. So for me, it's a mixture of those like match day videos and that kind of talking and analysis, because that's how I kind of watch football, and that's how I kind of got into football as well. So yeah, I'm a little bit, I like doing the match day stuff, but then again, I'm not at matches every single week as much as it feels like it with the fixture congestion coming up. But like, so I'm not at games, I've still got something to fall back on. I can still talk about football, and yeah, that's something that I'm happy that I can do so clearly now. It's taken a while, but you kind of can scroll back to, you'll be scrolling a while, but you can scroll back to some of my videos, even last season, and I'm a little bit more hesitant in what I'm saying. Yeah, now I'm quite straight to the point,
you're
and that
straightforward.
definitely helps.
I always say my favourite videos of you is your starting lineups before the games, the ones that you predict who's going to start. Like, that's always my favourite ones to watch, because I'm like, how many did she get right?
My friends were like doing like a tally at the start of the season. I remember one I was 2 off and I was so upset.
Yeah, you're like,
are you kidding me?
I'm not doing it. But yeah, do you think in terms of just women's football in general on TikTok that it's the platforms? Do you think the platform's different to women's sport? Like, we touched on it a little bit more there in terms of like comments and algorithm and stuff. Like, I know when I put a couple of things up, obviously about on my TikTok, just even like smaller clips in my vlogs and stuff, that I find that it's always men that come in. No one cares. No one, or like you struggle to get the algorithm, the correct algorithm, just at the right time.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that, in terms of women's sport or even just women's football, that it's a struggle on there?
I think I'm trying to remember back to when I first started, because I feel like that's where I can answer it a little bit more. It always, like, the Euros was an experience in terms of some lives I had and some like mutes and blocks I had to deal with. I think it just depends on the events that are on around the time. Again, I have a lot of words filtered, and I remember my first lives I'd done were fun, to say the least, because like, in terms of just like having to mute and block everyone because they were saying stuff. I think for me, I'm quite fortunate that I've kind of blocked those people and like created the like community in the process by kind of building that, and then you kind of have your regulars go on the algorithm first, will then share the video. But it's when you first, I think I remember first starting, and like some of the comments I'd have, like I remember doing the match reaction for Arsenal versus Chelsea, we won, and it was just empty seats. And I was like, it's 10 minutes after the game ended. Like, what do you expect? Like, everyone to still be there dancing and like having a party? Like, it just makes no sense. So I think with the algorithm, it's more at the start of your journey, you will have that, but it's just kind of setting yourself in terms of what I want to get out of it. What am I going to tolerate? What am I going to have on this page? And then go from there is my best advice.
Yeah. Do you ever remember your most viral moment? Do you remember the day that one of your clips went really viral to the point you were like, wow, this is crazy?
The Brighton games was crazy. I remember the daft one when Liverpool scored. I was just trying to get some like Olivia Smith clips to like make a montage of, can she sign for Arsenal when she did. And then they just scored a goal out of nowhere. So I just captioned it, the goal that like changed the game. And I got like 30,000 views, and my comments on my way home were just going absolutely crazy. And just Brighton game in general was like still ridiculous looking back. I saw Volty, so like I didn't see Volty. I had my phone, I zoomed it in, and I saw Leah Volty there, and I was like, huh, I'll just do a mini 5-second video. No one's probably gonna see it, but it's just gonna say Leah Volty's here at the Emirates Stadium. Everyone probably knows that, but you can see it. And then
No.
I like the game finishes, and it's like on 10k views. I'm like, right, how on earth? And like it was on Twitter, and I was just like, right, why? Like, did you all know that? I had people like taking pictures of her before the game. Like I thought everyone knew she was there. I didn't expect like, and like the same with the Leah Williamson one as well. I just did not expect that to go as well as it did, and with Russo after the game as well. So yeah, like those moments against Brighton, I was like, whoa, like this is ridiculous. Like I
Yeah.
just wasn't expecting it. But anything that hits like 7 to 10,000 views, I'm just like, oh my word, like it's just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I always try and set an expectation myself where it's very much like, look, you'll be happy when you're first starting out with this amount of views. So don't stress. Like whatever
Yeah.
happens, as long as you're showing your personality. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget that we started it off for fun in terms of like social media and whatever. But you're just genuinely there just to like, for me, I started off in terms of doing the vlogs because obviously me and my husband do a lot of traveling from Glasgow back and forth for a lot of the games. It's at least once a month. And at that point I was like, do you know what, this could be a good thing in terms of looking back in terms for me and my husband. And it would be a nice touch just to maybe when we have kids of our own or grandkids, etc., those videos are there and you could pull them up. That's all the reason I started off with my like vlogging and things. But you do sometimes forget, listen, I started off this for enjoyment, not for the pressure of other people, not for what other people want from it. And I gave George this advice because sometimes he got frustrated with a few things, but I'm like, just remember you're there to enjoy it, not to put pressure on what other people want from your social medias, etc. So it is, but yeah.
That for me was
that
for me was the beauty of I was lucky enough to get accreditation for Bournemouth versus Royal Bedford, and that for me was like, I was like, well, look, I don't mind how many views these video gets. I'm doing a good thing by promoting the National League that needs more coverage, it needs more promotion. I ended up having like some like Royal Bedford players like the post that I put up on my Instagram, which again is ridiculous to think.
Yeah. We've obviously just started a new channel called the Women's Football Chat Show off the back of this show.
Yeah.
And only just recently we obviously put an international show up. It was all right, but the watch alongs recently had been the hit in terms of that channel. But again, we've had to broaden our horizons in terms of like there's more in women's football to be done than just Arsenal women's football, and with a platform that we kind of have, not a huge platform, but we could still do something in terms of women's football to get more information out there and hopefully put across more what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, anyway, you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about. George,
I understand.
You want to ask any more questions before I ask this last question to close it out?
Try to think. No, I was just listening. I think it's really good. Like especially like I think the reason from myself why I had done it, because obviously being an Arsenal fan generally, I've watched so many like Arsenal, like the men football podcasts, and been on a couple, and I was like, I enjoyed talking rubbish about football. Like, I don't know, like I'm not a qualified manager. Like otherwise, I would be getting the Tottenham job and getting a payout for 6 weeks' work, but I'm not. So, but more what my thing was is that I wanted to promote women's football. I enjoy it. Like, it's very similar. Obviously, I think I was saying this to Laura, Mia. Obviously, I'm registered blind, so doing these sort of things gives me a purpose. But I think the growth of women's football and disability sport is very similar. Like, there's not a huge there wasn't a huge amount of coverage about it, and the more awareness and promotion of that you can get is the better of that. So I thought, oh, there's a niche kind of in the market. Let's talk about the Arsenal women's stuff. Then that's gone on to other stuff, like we're doing all the non-Arsenal stuff now. So like the non-league stuff you were talking about is something that we're really interested in, because like it is, because like I live in Peterborough, so I'm looking into going to watch Peterborough women's team sometimes if Arsenal are not playing and stuff.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I just think it's really important, like, to promote it generally, and I think the thing that hit the nail on the head is the safe community is the one. Like, if you get people in the community who are not fitting into that, then they go, don't they? So
Yeah.
but it's as simple as that, really. But
Yeah.
that's what I say.
I'm going to close it out with one last question, Mia, in terms of social media. With a platform the size that you do have, do you feel responsibility representing the women's football online?
No, 100%. Like, you've definitely got to like kind of like stand up for what is right and what is wrong, and also like for like what you believe in, like your journey as well, like along the way. There's still so much I want to speak about and so much I want to do with the growing platform that I do have. My main thing is always about like player welfare, player injuries. You know, like when Brighton Arsenal got called off, as a fan travelling there for it to then get called off was a bit infuriating to say
Lucky you didn't hear me in the WhatsApp group.
So it's like it's I always feel like I have responsibility. I always have done since I started off this channel. As a person, I always try to, for like the work I've done before, conduct myself well. You know, treat people how I want to be treated, not leave anyone out in the process. And I feel like that's what I do in my channel as well. Is, you know, I treat everyone in the comments with respect, no matter what they're saying. And, you know, I just want to just try to grow and improve the game as much as I can, which is why I'm trying to, especially probably more last season as well as next season, as well as still going to as many Arsenal games, is to try and grow the games below, because I think that's something I feel like really needs to be improved and be looked at, and I can try and do as much as I can do.
Yeah, that's all we can do, isn't it? As a collective community, in terms of the people across YouTube, people across TikTok, Instagram, even, that all we can do is be respectful when we come onto our shows, be respectful to people when we meet them in person.
Oh yeah.
And just try and get the game out there. That's the only thing we could really do, and hopefully, as you said earlier on, that in the next few years it does get bigger and better, and that's the only way forward we possibly can go. Hadj says thank you for what you'll do for the women's game. That's really appreciated.
Just want to say
Ryan,
hi to someone called Al as well, who's put some nice comments in there, so I appreciate that. And hi to Scott. Also, just remember to subscribe to the channels below as well, and then obviously Laura and Mia will share Mia's social as well. So definitely start following and helping build that up as more as well.
Ryan has said, I said from the time I introduced covering our women's team on here that the demand was always there for women's football coverage. You just have to know what you're doing and show the passion, etc.
Well, you got me on. You got me on. You said people know what they're doing. And I didn't see your message, blind moment, but I can get away with that, so that's fine.
Mia, I think we've nipped at your ears enough tonight. That was really nice to have you on. Thank you very much for for that. It's much appreciated. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you, etc., on Instagram, TikTok especially?
So on TikTok it's emmy.football7 and Instagram it's emmy.football7. I've tried to make my Instagram more of like a growing community, so I ask you guys questions, interact with you, or a little bit more on stories than what I can do on TikTok with like filters and everything. So yeah, definitely follow on both my TikTok and my Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mia.
No worries.
I'll pass it back over to the boss and he can close out the show.
Cool. So yeah, once again, thank you to Mia. It's been really, really good, and it's really encouraging and helpful as well. So I just want to say thank you to our people in the chat as well. It's been really, really good to have some of you guys on, some new ones as well. So that's been good as well. Obviously, always thank you to Ryan, because obviously his support means a lot as well. And yeah, thank you to Laura, because I say it every week. Well, not every week, because I don't do a show every week, but I say it every week that there's not an international break. Without Laura, these shows wouldn't be possible. So she's very humble, but she's amazing. She does just so much to help and get all these shows up and running, especially like the watch-alongs. Like I think you done an America one at like midnight or something.
Yeah, I was tired after that one.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I did not watch that watch along because I was asleep. I'm not gonna lie. So, but no, really appreciate. And at the end of the day, guys, I'm trying to do, obviously with Laura's help and other people like Liam and Ryan, we're just trying to build a safe community for predominantly Arsenal women fans, but generally we're reaching out on this channel to everyone now. Even if you support Spurs, that's how hospitable I am at the minute. Like obviously it's going to be hard from next season for you guys, but on that note, we will be back on Friday. So obviously keep an eye on our socials. I think they're wrote on here, aren't they, Laura?
Yep, they're scrolling across the bottom.
Okay,
And if you're interested in coming on maybe the Arsenal Women's Chat, not the Arsenal Women's Chat show, but the football chat show, because obviously you've got a few things that we maybe want to talk about as well, so it could be a good, obviously, back and forth in terms of speaking about more things that you possibly want to get out in the open. So if you're around for another show, it would be great to possibly get your views on other things.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So on that note, good night, everyone. Have a good week, and come on, you Gunners.
Let's go. Sarah.
Bye.